Hello, MJ7NLK here and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we are looking at the CB radios that we have on the shelf that are available on the market in September of 2024 and which ones deserve your hard-earned cash. There are lots of confusing acronyms and terms in the CB world and navigating the landscape can be hard or even off-putting. So if you're just getting into the hobby and you want to know which radio is the best and which to buy, then this is the video for you. We are looking at 25 radios today, and although it's not every single radio on the market, we do cover quite a broad range. Now, before we get into it, we need to talk about the differences between type-approved and non-type-approved radios. A type-approved radio has to meet specific standards as laid out by the radio regulator, who is Ofcom in the UK or the FCC in the USA. If the radio is type approved, it means that it conforms to the regulator's rules and is approved and is legal to use. A non-type approved radio is a radio that does not have an approval certificate, but this does not mean that the radio is any better or any worse than the type approved version. It is, however, not legal to use on the CB frequencies without being type approved. I will quickly explain bands, as this is important to understanding how we have defined the categories for this review. CB radios transmit on what is known as the 11-metre band. The 10-metre band below it and the 12-metre band above it are ham amateur radio bands. All of the bands I have just mentioned are within the HF or high frequency range. President Electronics make two radios that are nearly identical, and they even share the same circuit board, the Walker 2 and the Richard. The Walker 2 is CB out of the box and type approved for use on the 11-metre band. The Richard is a ham 10-metre radio out of the box and type approved for use on the ham 10-metre band. You can expand both radios to cover the 10, 11 and 12-metre bands, which makes them virtually identical, but one has a slip of paper allowing it to be legally used on the 11-metre band and the other doesn't. Next, we need to talk about single sideband. I have explained in other videos how single sideband works, so go and watch my video on power meters if you want a technical explanation on the magic and the witchcraft involved. But single sideband is a lot more popular these days, and some people won't even consider buying a radio if it doesn't have single sideband support. So with all of that in mind, these are the rules and the categories we are following. The radio must be available to buy new from retailers. The prices mentioned in this video are as at the beginning of September 2024. And just because one radio wins in a category, it doesn't mean that the others are no good. Your use case will dictate what features are important to you, and that might mean that our recommendation is not the right one for you. We have 25 radios in this test, and we have not included handhelds. Some radios, like the Anytone Graces, Radioddity CS47 and the CRT Mic 2, are the same radio badged by different manufacturers, so do shop around. You might find that one is cheaper than the other in your region. We do not cover every single CB radio on the market, and only the ones that we have here with us today. There are 6 categories in total. The first 4 relate to type-approved radios, and the last 2 cover radios that aren't type-approved. Category 1 to 3 are for type-approved CB radios that don't have single sideband. In Category 1, it's under £100, 2 between £100 and £150, and 3 over £150. Category 4 to 6 are radios with single sideband. Category 4, type-approved CB single sideband radios. 5, non-type approved single sideband radios, expandable to cover the CB band, which are under £200. And the last category, 6, is the same as category 5, but costing over £200. Before we continue, here is a quick message from this video's sponsor, PCBWay. PCBWay are makers of prototype PCBs of all kinds. They also offer services like PCB assembly, CNC machining, 3D printing, sheet metal fabrication and injection moulding. Manufacturing times are exceptionally quick and delivery is super fast. I have used their services on many occasions, and PCBWay get an NLK-Media thumbs up for quality and service. Check out their website PCBWay.com for more information, or follow the link in the video's description. Thank you PCBWay for supporting this channel. In Category 1, type-approved CB radios without single sideband under £100, we have the CRT Alpha, costing £70. The President Jimmy 3, costing £70. The Radioddity CS47, costing £74. The Radioddity CB500, that one costs £85. The President Teddy 2, which costs £90. And finally, the Radioddity CB900 at £93. The runner-up in this category is the CS47, which has NRC and supports CTCSS and DCS tones and codes and has good expansion options. But the winner is the Radioddity CB500. This is a killer radio and is packed with features at an amazing price. If you want a reasonably priced radio that has it all, except for single sideband of course, then this radio is very hard to beat. The CRT Alpha is the previous incarnation of the CB500 and doesn't have NRC, which is the same radio as the Anytone AT500M. You could also look at the Anytone AT500M2, which is the same radio as the CB500. Category 2 is type-approved CB without single sideband between £100 and £150. The contenders are the CRT 2000H, costing £109. The President Barry 2, costing £109. The President Bill 2, squeeze him on the end, Bill 2, costing £115. The Midland M20, costing £119. The President Martin, costing £130. And finally, the Midland M30, costing £140. President have just announced the Barry 2 Plus, which is an improved Barry 2 and includes NRC, which is worth considering, and would probably win this category, but we don't have one and it's not available to buy in my region yet, so I cannot include it. The Midland M30 is a nice radio, but doesn't support CTCSS and DCS tones and codes and doesn't have NRC. The M20 has an option for a Bluetooth dongle, which might be important to you. But out of these radios, I would have to go for the Bill 2, if size is your key buying decision. If it isn't, then I would go for the CRT 2000H. The CRT 2000H is a high-power version of the 2000. And when expanded, which is not legal to use in most regions, can output up to 40 watts. It's PC programmable and supports CTCSS and DCS tones and codes, and has a colour screen. Category 3, type-approved CB without single sideband over £150. The contenders are the President Harry 3, the Midland 88, the President Richard, more on that in a minute, the President Walker 2, and finally President Harrison 2. Now the more observant amongst you will have said, wait, the Richard is not type approved. Well, it's not, and it shouldn't really be included in this category. But I have never understood why it is cheaper than the Walker 2. And lots of people who intend to expand the radios can save money buying the Richard instead. Neither of these radios, when expanded, is a legal option. But why buy the Walker 2 when the Richard is £10 cheaper? The Walker 2 and Richard are both fabulous radios. It just has everything in the right place, and it's a pleasure to use. But out of all of these radios, I would have to give the win to the Harrison 2. The Harrison 2 supports both 12 and 24 volts. It has CT/CSS and DCS tones and code support, NRC, and all the filters, A&L, noise blanker, and high cut. Built-in S-meter, frequency on the display. It's a high-quality, compact, and powerful little radio. Category 4, type-approved CB with single sideband. Now we move into the higher end radios, which include single sideband. These are the legal options out of the box. We have the CRT SS3900 costing £189. I do have one, but for love nor money, I cannot find it, which is a bit worrying. The President McKinley costing £299, and the George 2 costing £319. Anytone also have the Erez 2 single sideband, which costs around the same money as the SS3900, but there are not many radios with single sideband for under £200. The winner here, well, it's a simple choice. The President George 2. It's an amazing radio. It's pricey, but is hands down the best legal out-of-the-box option. It has every feature going. It has a large screen, NRC, which is just amazing, especially on single sideband, has a VFO mode, noise gate, more filters than you can shake a stick at, CT/CSS and DCS tones and codes. It is just amazing. If you can afford it, you won't be disappointed. Category 5, non-type approved, expandable radios with single sideband under £200. Now we move over to the dark side and look at ham radios that are expandable to cover the 11-meter band. And they're not legal options to use on CB frequencies, but all of the radios in this category and the next category are type approved as ham radios, not CB radios. First up, we have the SS3900V. And in particular, this is the V7 model, which has NRC, as it says here. And we have the Alinco DX10 costing about £190. So this is £169, this is £190. Both of these radios are solid units, but the win has to go to the SS6900 V7. As it has NRC. This radio outputs 12 watts AM, 40 watts FM and 35 watts on single sideband, has NRC and CT/CSS and DCS tones and codes, and is PC programmable. This version also has extra ventilation holes in the bottom of the cover to help with heat dissipation. One very annoying thing is the SS6900 and how they do their boxes. In fact, all of the CRT SS range, it's very annoying. This is the prior version, the V6, this is the V7. Now, you cannot tell on these boxes which is which, apart from with NRC RX. Apart from that, the boxes are absolutely identical, and it's really quite difficult to know which version you have. Category 6, non-type approved expandable radios with single sideband over £200. Okay, here we go. These are the big hitters. 4 amazing radios. The CRT SS3900 version 4 with DTMF, costing £219. The Radioddity QT80, costing around £230. the President Lincoln 2 Plus, put it over there, costing £289, and finally the President Washington costing £359. The SS3900 V4 is a great radio, but a new V5 model is rumoured to be coming at the end of September. The current V4 model outputs 30 watts on AM, 50 watts on FM and 60 watts on single sideband, and it's priced very well. The Radioddity QT80 is a monster of a radio. I reviewed it recently and it's a powerhouse. I saw over 90 watts on single sideband in testing. It's easy to use and the features are implemented well. It can also be expanded to cover the 15-metre band. The President Lincoln 2 Plus. It's quite long in the tooth now, but it's still a very capable radio. It's 50 watts AM, 35 watts FM and 35 watts single sideband. And then we have the President Washington, which shares the same chassis as the George II. This radio has a new automatic power module APM feature, which allows you to fit 2 optional cooling fans to the rear heatsink. It's quoted as 70 watts AM, 50 watts FM and 70 watts single sideband. I am still waiting on the cooling fans arriving. It's been over 2 months now. Apparently there is a shortage. And I haven't validated the power output on this with the cooling fans because I don't have them yet. Picking a winner here is hard. I have to discount the SS3900V as the new model is about to land and the outgoing model is beaten by the QT80. The Lincoln 2 Plus is a solid radio, but it's also beaten by the QT80. And that just leaves the Washington. Did I mention that on top of the £359 of the Washington, the pair of cooling fans cost an extra £30, which takes the price of this radio to £389. Versus the QT80 at £230, which is a difference of £159 between them. It will come down to personal choice. Both radios are incredible. You just have to decide if active cooling on the Washington is something that is important to you, but it's hard to overlook the huge price difference between them. For the time being, I'm giving the win to the QT80. And when the cooling fans arrive for the Washington, we'll do a full review and power output tests, and I will then make the final decision. But the winner of this category is the QT80. So in conclusion, Category 1 winner, CB500, superb radio that. Category 2 winner, the CRT 2000H. Category 3 is the President Harrison 2. Category 4 is the President George 2. Category 5 is the SS6900V version 7. And the Category 6 winner is the Radioddity QT80. You might not agree with the choices made in each category. There might be other radios we haven't considered. Please do engage in the comments section below and let me know which radio you would choose and why. I hope you found the information in this video helpful. If you did, then please help the channel out by giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. This really does help to ensure that I can continue to provide content. Please feel free to buy me a coffee, details are in the description below, and thank you very much to everyone who has bought them in the past. If you have any questions or comments, then you know what to do in the comments section below. All I ask is that you keep it respectful. Trolls and nasty know-it-alls need not apply. Until next time, stay safe stay happy, and catch you in the next one.